You know, they said never get high on your own supply. I wasn't that guy. And I took that first hit, magically delicious. Peekaboo, oh, there's somebody over there. Maybe I could just drink. I thought I could just smoke crack,
Like a gentleman?
yeah.
No, go. This isn't Alex Jones. Don't come. Don't kick in the door.
Welcome to The Recovery Idiot. Please like and subscribe and visit therecoveryidiot.com. Please follow us on social media and get that dopamine fix. The following contains explicit language and situations that some might find unsettling. Viewer discretion is advised.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, but now we gotta move.
Drop that down.
If I ask a question,
I'll try to answer.
yeah. My name is Leroy, recovered alcoholic drug addict. And today, sitting in the Section 9 studios, is my good friend, a Puerto Rican icon of the recovery community, Jack.
I'm an alcoholic addict named Jack.
One of the beautiful things about recovery is you see somebody come in, like, broken in a complete absolute mess, and then they actually stick around for a couple years because they actually take suggestions, which should be demands, but that's a different story. Take suggestions and they do what other people did to recover. And you were one of those people. You came into a meeting I was at, 2.5, 3 years ago?
Going on 3 years.
So before all that, where did life start for Lil Jack?
It all started in Brooklyn, New York.
Wait. I thought you were from the Bronx.
No. I'm from Brooklyn.
I had all these Hunts Point jokes and...
Yeah, no, it's okay. Well, translate it into a Brooklyn joke.
All right, well, I'll have to show you some Brooklyn pictures after this.
Yes. So it all started in Brooklyn. You know, it was just, I always wanted to be accepted, because I seen what the kids had in the corners and the new sneakers and the boom boxes and things like that. And, I seen what they had, and then I wanted to be a part of that. So I wanted to be accepted. So I used to walk around and try to hang out with them. That's where I started drinking, right? Because they used to drink this old type of beer called Old English. Right?
Absolute favorite.
It's that smooth, mellow taste that gets you. Smooth, mellow taste that gets you. It's the power. Stronger but smooth. It's the power. Old English 800.
Old English.
In a 40 ounce, not those 32 ounces that they have down here.
Yes, exactly. Like a 40 ounce. They thing look like a torpedo bullet.
You don't have to have a party to have Old English. You have to have Old English to have a party. Drink responsibly.
And that's where I started, But to make long story short, right, it's all really started with my family function. Every family function, my family drank. And I was like the little kid that comes around and collects the cans, right? Collects the cans, and I wanted to figure out what was that. And I take a sip, and I was like, oh, man. Next thing you know, I'm laying in the bed like, what just happened? But then, like I said, as I started that at a young age, then that's when I started wanting to hang out with the guys, because I said, that's the stuff they drink. That's the stuff that makes them look like they're happy, and they listen to the music on the corner, and they dance, and they got the girls, and that's what I want. And that's where it all started for me.
What year were you a teenager? 90s?
No, I was a teenager. I was in the 80s.
I'm trying to think what kind of music was big back then. When I was growing up in Jersey and going to New York, the early 90s, the Eric B. and Rakim, that shit changed my life.
Yeah.
And Gangstar, all the pre-Biggie stuff. That was good, but it was the old school rap that I loved.
Right. And I used to listen to all that, man. And I remember, man, we used to go roller skating and ice skating. I mean, I never went ice skating. They used to go. I just used to hang out. We got into the dance clubs. We had our own dance clubs, and one of them was called the Autistic Dancers, and we used to battle against other...
Like breakdancing?
Yes.
Oh, you can breakdance.
Yes. We used to have the battle, and it got to a point where, it used to be fun, but then you battled against some other groups that when they lost, now it became arguments, fights, and things like that, man. We used to have one called the Roller Dancers. I would never forget that. We had a pretty good dancing crew. We used to go to these places and battle out, man. We had the United Dances. It was just, fun at that time. And life just progressed, man. And then, just got introduced to a whole bunch of other things. Black beauties, mescaline, tabs of acid. They had the paper ones or the purple haze. And, I remember I popped one of those things, man, and I was just laughing and giggling. And everybody was wondering why was I giggling and laughing. I don't know what that thing did to me, but it had some type of effect. And that's when my life progressed, because then at a young age, I joined a MC club at the age of 13, right? I was like black sheep of the family. I got into this MC club. I left my house. I was staying in that MC club and still going to school and stuff like that. Then I got introduced to cocaine and at a young age, right? But I never used it. I was selling it because I wanted to have everything everybody else had, right? I wanted to dress right. I wanted, to get the girls and all this stuff, man. Like, I literally had a Harley Davidson Sportster 1000 candy apple red at the age of 15. Like really. Like, I remember the first time I got locked up when they raided the place. Like, I ended up in Spofford. It's called Spofford. It's for the adolescents, the youth, right? And I remember these guys, listen, they wanted to take my sneakers in there. And I wasn't, like, at that time, I wasn't made for that. Like, I wasn't made for jail. So they wanted to, like set me up, take my sneakers. Man, listen, I made a phone call to my mom's and told her, look, I don't care what you do. Go to the club. Tell them I need to get out. Like, literally, get out of here, because these guys are going to end up. And that's what happened. I got bailed out, man. And then I just, I started getting high. Like, it was all about, like, at that time, it was like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I was having fun. Like, everything I said that I wanted to get involved in, I got involved. I was part of the guys. I had the girls.
And we all know what that means. Mind if I join you?
You must have read my mind.
Something like that.
The power of Colt 45. It works every time.
Man, listen, it was just, I remember we were drinking beers and stuff, right? With a whole bunch of stuff inside a boot. Right? Like an MC boot, right? Like, we're drinking tabs of acid in there, da-da-da. So I got introduced to all this stuff at a young age. Crack wasn't even out at that time. Trust me, it wasn't. It wasn't even out at that time. It was called
Freebase?
Yes. And that was like icing on the cake. Oh, man. Like peanut butter, right? Like, it was like, listen, the first time I tried that.
Hold on. There's probably people that have no idea what that was. Explain, like, freebase.
Right. Freebase was pure cocaine, and you cook it up with baking soda. That was it. You cook it up, and you just throw some ice in it once with hot water, and it gets hard like if it was crack. Oh, my God. How was I saying? When I took a hit for the first time of that, oh, man, it was like magically delicious.
They're magically delicious.
Always have to be Lucky Charms.
Because it took me to like another level, man. And then I wanted more, right? And more and more. And it didn't have no chemicals or nothing, because you actually had to do it yourself. So you knew exactly what you was putting in it. Jeez.
So there's, usually a part of everyone's using when it's still fun. Everything is still a party. You can go to work, you can have a wife, you can function. But that changed with you with the freebase, or were you still able to, make it through life?
No, actually, with the freebase, yeah, I was making it through life. It's just when the crack came out. Oh, the crack came out in like 1985, and I didn't have to cook my own, right? I didn't have to use the cocaine, do the baking soda, go through all that hassle, because it was the same thing that people were selling at that time.
This is back when it came in little vials?
Yes.
The first time I went to New York, I went to a baseball game in the Bronx, and at the place we were was just like a snowdrift. But it was a vials.
Yes.
It was just a crack vials.
Yes, and they came in all different colors.
Red tops, yellow tops, blue tops.
All types of different colors. Sometimes you knew, like, you go cop, you knew the red top was better than the yellow top. But then you go, let me get some yellow tops. But then I came to one point where everything was just everything. Man, that was where it all went downhill. It all went downhill. Trust me, I did prison time behind this. I was, they said never get high on your own supply. I wasn't that guy. I was using and selling it to maintain my habit. So as long as I sold it and went to whoever gave it to me, right, I could always re-up, and I'll always have some for me, right? I didn't care about having money in my pocket. I just cared about getting high. Like, yeah, okay, I just sold this bundle, and let me go back to this guy, boom. Or sometimes they made the capsules, the guy that gave them made them so big that I could tap them and make extra, just so I can continue to keep getting high. And I did that for a long time. Listen, I started selling for this guy heroin and the coke. We used to call it boy and girl, right? When they used to come, hey, let me get a boy and a girl, boom. So one was the coke and one was the heroin. I never did that. Listen, I thank God I never judged anybody that did, because I had a family member that was on that real hard, but I never did it. But I sold it. Listen, I was making so much money, man, and it all happened, right? Like after I started smoking crack, like I was just selling to whoever, and I ended up going to jail behind this, right? Like I did seriously 4 years in prison. Came out with 4 years on parole. Like they wanted to give me 5 to 15 years. I was a 2-time felon. I sold to an undercover cop.
Oh.
This guy listen, the way they got me was this guy, he looked at homeless, bumless, and shameless, and came to me to cop some cocaine. And I sold it to him, not knowing he was an undercover cop. And they were watching me. They had me, right, on a photo indictment, which means when I made the sale to him, they had me on pictures and all that stuff. And thing about it is that I was going into the store to buy some stuff that my brother had sent me to get, some paper towels, things like that, because he just got an apartment or whatever. And I sold to this guy before I went to the store. So when I went into the store, instead of using that money that he just gave me, and I came out the store, I see 2 white guys running in suits towards this way, like towards me, and I'm walking that way. And then I look behind me, I see 2 more white guys coming. I'm like, wait a minute, what's this? I mean, right here, what's going on? And I'm walking with the groceries and the stuff like that in my hand. They just bum rushed me, threw me to the car. The first thing they did was go into my pocket. And what did they find? The marked money.
Oh, a Vice Squad operation, like the real deal.
They found the marked money, and me, instead of using it to buy the stuff, I didn't. So now they had me with a photo indictment, which means they had pictures of me making the sale to the guy. Now they had the marked money that they pulled out of my pocket. I was done. My lawyer told me, Jack, if you take this to trial, you might not see daylight. I told him, if you're trying to scare me, you're doing a good job. And I already had like 11 months in prison. So I took the 4 to 8 because that was the last thing the judge said. If you don't take this, next time you come to court, you're going to get 5 to 15. And all I did was look back. I see my mom's there and my cousin and stuff. And I just copped out to that. So I figured, in another 2 years, I'll come down to work release. And that's how it all happened. And that's when I came out in 1992. Because I was on parole. And I wasn't getting high because I had to get my parole urine and all this stuff. I figured I could sell it. That's when I started selling the heroin, the coke, and making money. I was like, I had money. Listen, I had...
While on parole.
While on parole. While on parole and hoping I didn't get caught. And I kept selling it. Man, it was just getting out of control because I was selling the heroin in one guy's spot that he didn't want to have a shootout with me, right? I told him, let's have a shootout. We taking this spot. I worked for this guy named Duman. He was like 7 feet, this guy. Like that. Muscular. So I was selling the heroin there and in the spot that he had. So being that he didn't want to have a shootout, you know what he was doing, right? He was calling the cops on me every day, this guy. You know how many times I was running from the cops? And throwing bundles under the cars or under the things, like under people's doors and hoping they didn't catch me and then go back and retrieve them. Man, listen, I'm going to tell you a story, right, real quick. There was little projects in Gowanus. I never forget. I was selling heroin and the guy called the cops on me. And I ran into the building, not knowing that it was only like 2 floors or 3 floors. And when I went to the top, there was no roof to get on. Like you could go to the roof, jump to the next one. No, there was none of that. None of that. I figured I'm done here. I'm trapped. This is it. Right? So I started taking the bags of heroin and sliding them on the people's doors. Then this young kid, was coming upstairs with groceries. I will never forget this. Coming upstairs with groceries. I said, look, please, let me in your house. I'll give you whatever it is. I'll give you money, whatever it takes, please. He said, I can't. It's not my house. It must have been his mother's house or whatever. This kid must have been like 7, 8 years old or whatever. Listen, he was coming upstairs. Thank God they were Spanish. Leroy, when he opened up that door, I went in. The lady was there with her husband, and I talked to them in Spanish, and I said, please, listen, the cops are coming. I can't go out there. Please, I'll give you whatever it is. Please, just wait for them to leave, and I'll leave. I promise. And they let me stay there, man. And I sat there, and then I told her, can you call me a cab, right? And I stood there until the cops left. So they called me the cab. The cab called me and said he was outside. So I said, thank you. I gave the lady maybe like $150. I didn't care because I was about to tell this guy, listen, I lost all the heroin. It's under people's doors. So as I started leaving the building, I started collecting the bags, right? Getting them out of people's doors. Leroy, let me tell you, when I ran out of that building, because I knew the cops were gone. So there's a car right here, and the cab is on this side. Dude, when I ran out of that door, I jumped. I don't know where did I get this like acrobatic thing. It was like a stunt movie. I ran and jumped over that car, landed right to where the cab was, opened the door, and told this guy, get me out of here. And then I told the guy that I was selling for, I was like, look, this guy don't want to have a shootout. All he keeps doing is calling the cops on me. I done ran like 5 times already from the cops this week. And I can't, I'm not going to do it. But I was making so much money that it was just crazy. If they would have caught me with all that heroin, them cops.
While on parole, you're going away for life probably.
Yep. Yeah. And I thank God that those people let me in, man. And like I said, I just started retrieving the stuff, and I got out of there. I gave the guy his stuff. I said, look, I lost this, this, and this. And he was like, all right, we're not sending you back over there. I says, I'm not. All he's doing is calling the cops. That's the only way he could have get me out of that area, because I was taking his money. So
a drug dealer calling the cops.
Yeah, because he didn't want to have a shootout. I'm like, we can have a shootout. Let's go. Like, whatever. That was when I was in my younger days, and I was
stupid.
Like, yeah, I was really stupid. I wasn't thinking straight. All I wanted to do was like be accepted, right? Have that money, walk around, fly, get the girls and stuff, and pray I didn't get busted again. But I almost did. Thank God I didn't. I stopped selling drugs altogether. When I had my son, like in 93, I so-called thought it would change my life. And then I started selling again. And like I worked with my brother that had his own company. It was called Top Notch. And my brother was a roofer, and I used to work with him, but I was still selling after work. So I had to like do a detour so my parole don't think I'm working. I come home, but I still have people that, hey, call me up and say, yo, I need this. And I would go and bring it to them and stuff like that. So I had to do a detour just for parole reasons. So I got off of parole.
After you got out, were you using it all, or you just selling?
No. When I got out, I couldn't use. I was on parole. I did the whole 4 years without giving dirty urine, without using anything like that. And the day I went to see my parole, and he said, yo, you're done. That's it. You're finished. I'm like, huh?
So what happens when you get off parole?
Well, you get even crazier. You get more insane now, because now you ain't property.
The handcuffs are off.
Yeah. When you come out, I'm still property of the state. Even though I was living with my moms or whatever the case may be, they could go to my mother's house any time of the day, wherever I'm at. So when I got off of parole, I was into selling, using, all this good stuff. Like every time I got high, like if I smoked crack, like remember, like with the freebase, it was magically delicious. I started hallucinating at that point, because I even started talking to myself, right? Calling myself delicious. Because this is the way this drug was like out of control. And I used to like not care and stay up nights and nights and nights. And when I started smoking crack, I was like, no way, man. And I used to hang out with some people, and they didn't even know my name, right? But I didn't want to get high by myself. So like I used to just like draw people to me, yo, this. And people was like, what's your name? So I was changed my name. I started Delicious, like my name is Delicious, right? Because the first hit was Delicious. When the crack came out, I was like, no, my name is Chuck. And the reason I said Chuck was because every time I smoked that crack, I was stuck. Yo, like I was stuck. Like I didn't have conversations. It had a different effect than the freebase. I just don't know what it was. People were looking for me, hiding behind freaking curtains and shit like that. I'm like, wait a minute, what is this? And because it was cheaper, right? Remember, you got them they were selling $3 valves, $5 valves, right? I didn't have to go get a whole thing of cocaine and all this other stuff.
Cook it yourself.
And cook it myself, so I figured this was it. It's just crazy because in my head, right, when I smoked this stuff, I was like peekabooing. Peekaboo, like, you know, like, oh shit, there's somebody over there. Like I was seeing stuff like this, whatever the effect of that crack when it came out of control.
Damn. Crap.
This was where it all started for me. Like I got introduced to all that, the drugs and going to jail and the crack and all this stuff. Then I met this guy. I met him in a meeting that I went to. It was an NA meeting.
How did you start going to meetings back then?
My brother, to this day, he lives in West Palm Beach. My brother has close to 40 years of sobriety.
So while you were still smoking crack and just got out of prison, he brought you to meetings?
He's seen me doing these things, and he bring me to a meeting. That's how I knew about meetings in 1992. And I met this guy there. And at that time, I had a sponsor. I had people in my life, and I just wasn't really fully applying it. I was just there to be there. Because sometimes you could just be sitting there and just to sit there, right? But if you ain't putting in the work, you're not going to get nothing. But I used to hang out with a lot of guys. Like, we used to go out, and they used to invite me to go out to have coffee, or take me out to eat and stuff like that, right? Because I was a newcomer. So I met this guy there that to this day I still love him. His name was Raymond Ramo. And he just celebrated 37 years. This guy was like 19 years old when I met him. And I was in starting my recovery. And he came up to me one day, and he was starting this recovery thing. And he was so connected with God that we used to hang out. We used to go to this meeting in Manhattan. It was called Midnight Miracles. And when I walked in there for the first time, Midnight Miracles, I'll never forget. I thought it would be like, a regular meeting with people sitting, which was, but that meeting was like totally different. You had people that were homeless and bumless. It was such a big space, laying on the floors and stuff like that, but they still had that meeting in that area. And the people were there were like, listen, you want to talk about real stuff and people crying and people moaning. When I came here, and I thought I was insane, but those meetings over there, they called it Midnight Miracles for a reason, because these were the people that really were going through it, man. And to see people that were homeless and stuff like that in that meeting, laying there on the floor and stuff like that, I got attracted to these guys. And I started going to meetings and meetings and meetings and meetings and meetings and meetings and meetings. And this guy was so connected to God that he took me to this place, and I started to follow, right, suggestions, right, making meetings, a group of men that were spiritually connected, right, spiritually connected with God. And I went, man, and I started learning more about God, getting into my steps, getting the spiritual awakening that they talk about and stuff like that. And make a long story short, there was a couple of couples, we started in the basement talking to God. We had men's group crying, weeping, letting everything out, and all the struggles and burdens and things that we were going through, right? And we would pray and pray and pray and pray. And it was just an amazing feeling. We got so connected with God that we were praising God in the basement. About 5 or 6 of us with your wife, your friends, man. And then God just like started moved us to another spot, because it was called Recovery House of Worship, right? So everybody in that church, my pastor was a recovering addict for 30-something years, and he still preaches the word, and he's still in recovery, and he talks about God. And that's what drew me closer to him, because not only was he living the program, it was what was he doing outside the box. Because sometimes we can make meetings, and meetings could just become your life. That's all you want. It's just making meetings. But if you really get into the book, it says you'll have a spiritual awakening, right? You'll get this spirituality that things will start happening in your life beyond your wildest dream. But it has to be up to the individual. Are you willing? Are you willing to turn your life over to God of your understanding and stuff like that? And sure enough, he did that. And I just started following, like, wait a minute, there's more to this. There's more than just to make meetings and planting just my feet in here. What else we got to do, right? And we were out there. We were talking to people and going to meetings and talking to recovery stuff and the spirituality that we had. Man, listen, I became a founder of 5 churches in New York, that he was the one that I followed. And we started, listen, it was Recovery House of Worship. So this day, now they have churches all over the place. And it's not only a spiritual thing, but they talk about recovery, right? That's why it's called Recovery House of Worship, because you're recovering and you God of your understanding, right? You're talking to the God of your understanding. And it was just a beautiful thing, man. And I tell you, like, after that, I started just like following. Then I drifted, right? I moved from Brooklyn. I went to Connecticut, had a bump in the road over there.
There's a bump in the road. This sounds like it's going to get good.
Like, there's no way around these drugs. There's no way around it. Trust me. Me as an addict, regardless of where I move, I will find it.
There's a Martin Luther King Boulevard in every city. There's a trap house in every city. There's a little project, a little section in every city.
And that's, now that you say that, there was a project called PT in Connecticut. Small project. Little ones, 2 floors, and it's all about the person that you meet. You can tell somebody is getting high, and at that time, I didn't have shame. We're asking, listen, where could I get something like? And they'll direct you to the right. Listen, there's no way around it. And I had a slip and fall in Connecticut. Oh, yeah. It got bad, really bad. And,
so basically, you had clean time, and then hit that bump in the road, and it got as bad as it was before. It's like they always say, it's a progressive illness.
Yep.
And when you get back into it, it's going to pick up right where you left off.
Exactly, and that's exactly what happened. You keep repeating the same things over and over and expecting a different result. The result never changed. It just got worse. Like, I remember having my apartment, lost that. I remember having a furnished room, lost that. Remember that I didn't go to work for a few days and lost that. My kids stopped talking to me, all this other stuff. It just got out of control. I had to figure it out. Right from Connecticut, my mother and my oldest son came and got me. I went to this rehab called Samaritan Village, and they sent me up to upstate, where there was bears, cows, pine trees.
Like the country upstate.
No stores. You have to get in a van. Like, they give you permission. They had a day where you could go to the store, but you had to earn that. So it was just crazy, and I completed that. Right? It was an 18-month thing, and I
Jesus.
Yeah, and I came back out after that. I went back to New York. I went back to my mom's, and I started working. I worked at this place called Picture Cars. I knew the guy. He knew me since I was a kid, and he gave me a job. I worked there for many years. I'm doing real good. Real good. So I didn't want to get high no more. But I knew this Jewish guy that somebody introduced me to. So here we go again. I was selling weed. I had a weed spot. I was selling 1.5 pounds a day. I'll meet this guy wherever he told me to meet him, and he'll get, you seen them housing project bags, them black bags that are like you could fit a body in it, right? This guy, I'll meet him, and he'll come out of his car or whatever with a whole bag like that, like 25 to 30 pounds, and tell me, you know what you got to give me. Listen, I was making so much money, 1.5 pounds a day, that I wasn't even selling it. I was just bagging it up and going to the spot and dropping it off to the guys that I had selling. I wasn't even present. I wasn't even around there. I just go when they call me and tell me they need more, and they would finish. Listen, I only had to give this guy $1,000 for a pound of weed.
Jesus.
$1,000. And you know how much I was making out of it? That was when they sell nickel bags, $5 bags.
Dimes, nickels.
I was making $2,500 when I bagged it up and it was all said and done. So giving him $1,000, I was making $1,500 a day because I was selling 1.5 pounds a day. I decided to stop. It was getting too overwhelming. I left again from New York to Connecticut with $40,000 in a shoebox and 2 guns. I said I had enough. I'm moving out of here. I can't do this no more. It's just going to get me really bad. $40,000 in a shoebox and 2 guns that I went in a U-Haul truck, packed all my stuff with my baby's mother and my mother in the truck. Was that insanity? I got my mother in the U-Haul truck. I got 2 guns and $40,000 in there. And my younger brother knew about it. And now, mind you, I have a brother that's a retired detective, and he snitched me out to my brother. He said, Jack had moms in the U-Haul truck, he had 2 guns, he got this, that. I denied it till I turned blue. And I made it from Brooklyn to Connecticut with that $40,000 and 2 guns. Then my other brother that lived in Connecticut, his neighbor, he told him about my guns. I ended up selling them, right, just to get rid of them, so I didn't, whatever, but I still had the money. So I did that. I started working in Connecticut. I worked at Auckland Pest Control, another pest control company. I was doing really good, really good. I had over like 15 years of sobriety through all that. 15 years, not using, not getting high. And then I met this woman in Connecticut. And that's when I ended up, she said, come move with me to Florida. And I moved to Florida, having over 15 years. But because I didn't have no family out here, and neither did she, and it was just us two, I said, wait a minute. Maybe I could just drink. I had over 15 years sober, and I thought I can drink. And I moved to Florida. I thought I was, I was been in Florida, 13 years now, right? So now I got 3 years sober, so calculate. I was drinking for 9 years, something like that. 9 years, no crack, no nothing, none of that. Just drinking, having a good time, socially, right? Having a good time, going to work, drinking, and then it started progressing. So I met some people, and they pulled out the cocaine.
I can't believe you were in Florida that long without people pulling out cocaine.
Yeah, because when I moved here in Port St. Lucie, it wasn't that crowded. Like, I couldn't find it. I didn't know nobody.
That's
so
true.
I didn't know who to approach.
The right parts of Port St. Lucie are like that.
It wasn't that crowded as it is now. So when I moved here, it wasn't like I could just approach anybody because I didn't know nobody.
There was no one standing on the corner in Port St. Lucie.
Right. Exactly, and I didn't know who would I approach. It's just, this is not my state here. Like, like in New York or Connecticut, you'll know who you could go up to and ask. But I just didn't want to go to anybody and they might be an undercover cop. And here we go again.
Yeah, Port St. Lucie probably is.
Right. After just drinking, cocaine came out. And then once that came out and I didn't have no more, then now I'm searching. I'm looking. I don't know nobody. He's the one with the connection. I don't know where to get the coke or whatever. And I just started driving because I already knew where Fort Pierce was and all that other stuff. Oh, shit. What? I end up driving to Fort Pierce and I found the magically delicious.
Do you remember? Was it Avenue D, Orange Ave?
Yes. Avenue D.
All nightmares start at Avenue D.
Avenue D, and I found that magically delicious once again. And I took that first hit, and that's it. And it just, here we go again with the deliciousness, the stuckness, the peekaboo-ness, and all these things that I left behind in New York. And I found it here, and that was it. The crazy part about it is that I thought I just smoked crack
like a gentleman?
Yeah. Because I had a job, right? I lived out in Florida. I had a good job. Like, I knew my days off, Friday and Saturday. In my mind, I'm saying, wait a minute. I got money saved up. I worked and stuff. So now I can start getting high Thursday, Friday, Saturday, come home Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon because I got to go to work Sunday.
It's a good plan.
But thing is that when I went and smoked, I blew $2 or $3 grand for 2 days.
Jesus.
So now when I go to work Sunday, now I stop. I stop for a month or so, right? Because I had to go to work and I'm trying to build up money again to repeat that cycle and do it again for another weekend. And September 18th, I decided to get clean of 2020. Last time I smoked was 4 days.
No sleep?
No sleep, no shower. I had a beard that I didn't know where did it come from. I thought I was like a Chia pet. Shit started growing. Shit started growing out of nowhere. I'm like, and I looked in the mirror when I got home and didn't know what I was going to tell my wife. I looked in the mirror, didn't like what I seen. I seen this guy, that beard, didn't shower, and I just said, no, I can't. I cannot. I didn't come to Florida for this. I did not come to Florida to repeat this cycle again. Mind you, 2.5 weeks clean. I decided it's September 18th to stop getting high, and I did it. So here's the key. My wife was a nurse. She didn't drink. She didn't smoke. She didn't curse. September 18th, I decided to get clean. My wife got to see me 2.5 weeks clean. October 5th, I come from upstairs to downstairs talking with my wife, having a nice conversation at 7:30 in the morning. She's texting her friend till 8:15. I come from upstairs at 8:30. And I find my wife on the kitchen floor, foaming out the mouth from a massive stroke. She had 3 blood clots on the left side of her brain. I panicked out, telling her, babe, wake up, what's the matter? What's the matter? What's the matter? I didn't know what to do. I called the ambulance, they came. I followed them to the hospital. They had my wife on life support. Then they called me the next day, told me that her heart rate was dropping, that if her heart was to stop, do I want to resuscitate her? I said no. And then they showed me the MRIs and told me that if my wife was to survive, that she'll be a vegetable and she wouldn't know who I am, so I would have to put her in a home. I didn't want my wife to go through that. So on the second day, I had to make a decision that I thought I would never, ever have to make a day in my life. A day in my life, and I was to tell them to take my wife off of life support. So mind you, they gave my wife 3 tubes of morphine, and my wife didn't die. I'm like, no, 3 tubes of morphine? They had to give her 3 more. And I sat there until she caught her last breath. And that the doctors had to tell me it was time for me to leave because I didn't want to leave. My wife didn't drink. My wife didn't curse. My wife didn't smoke. My wife didn't do nothing. And she put up with me through that insanity that I put her through. She put up with me through that insanity that I was putting her through, and I knew that if I didn't stop, I was gonna lose my wife. I was gonna be back to being homeless or whatever, running the street or whatever the case may be. On the second day, they pulled the plug. I sat there, said my goodbyes.
Did they ever find out what caused it, or was there any?
Yes. I asked them. My wife was healthy. My wife was a nurse. She had to take a physical every year. But my wife just retired, too, when this happened. From the COVID vaccine Pfizer, my wife got diagnosed with AFib, which means that your heart does not beat normal anymore. Your heart starts to do this, shakes, and you have to take blood thinners for the rest of your life. So when she went to the hospital, I asked the doctor, could that have been what caused her to have that massive stroke? And they told me yes. Because remember, Your heart is shaking now, and she's taking blood thinner.
You know, the government is going to hear this now
So,
and come after us.
It's okay, because you know what?
No, we don't want the government. No, go. This isn't Alex Jones. Don't come. Don't kick in the door.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that?
I called the lawyer because I was about to put a lawsuit on them. And you want to know something? The lawyers that I called, Morgan and Morgan, if you hear me, they put me to another people that has my case and told me, don't worry about it. We're going to save your information because you're not
doing anything.
You're not the only one that this happened to, but something's going to give because the government is pushing it under the table.
Yeah.
The government...
They caused it, and they did all this shit.
And they're putting it under the table. They told me that I'm not the only case like this. So the government is hiding it. They don't want to admit so that's what caused a lot of people to catch strokes at a young age, because I know people that got sick behind this at a young age, 30s and 35s and stuff like that were healthy and just...
Drop dead. Sudden death or something. There's some term they use on the news when someone dies unexpectedly.
Right.
And it all ties back to that fucking shot.
Right.
I got the Johnson & Johnson shot.
Do
I look normal?
Yeah, no, somewhat.
No, I don't.
Somewhat. I don't know. It's just maybe later it's going to come out in effect.
Oh, it came out.
But I took the Moderna, and I had to take it just like my wife. She had to take it because it was mandatory.
Yeah,
in her
for
job.
work.
You know, like the government made this thing mandatory. You had to take it for work. Like in my job where I worked in a resort. A big resort, Club Med. Like it was one of the big resorts in Port St. Lucie. And I had to take it because of my job. But I took the Moderna. The government's sweeping it under the table.
I was living in the halfway house. Everyone in the halfway house had to get the shot or get the fuck out. And I don't want to be homeless, so I got the Johnson & Johnson shot because you only needed one. The other ones, you had to go twice. And everyone got fucked up from that thing. I don't know anyone that dropped dead, but I know plenty of people that have died since.
And it's due to the shots. Tell people that to get it now again. To get a booster. They come up with it here and there, here and there, here and there. So that's what happened, right? So I found out. So they're going to hold on to my case because eventually something's going to come out. When I'm hoping I'm still alive for it. If not, I hope the people that suffered from that get what they deserve because a lot of people lost their lives behind this, the COVID shot. I don't even think there was a thing. They just spooked everybody. They made it mandatory to get the population to drop. So,
all right, fuck the government.
So anyway, that's what happened with my wife.
When you got sober this 2 weeks, did you go to like detox or you just stopped one day?
I stopped. I looked in the mirror, didn't like what I see. I said, this is it. I can't do this. I started literally slapping myself like, and looking at myself in the mirror and slapping myself and saying, no, I didn't come here for this. I didn't come to Florida from this. And I remember my wife telling me, if you need help, tell me, we'll get you help. I'm good. This whole story is that my wife got to see me 2.5 weeks clean. After all that, I was going through big time struggle at home because I own a townhouse. It's paid in full. I lived there by myself. I had to take down my wedding pictures. I took the hospital bed because she just had hip surgery too. And that wasn't what caused it because I found out from the doctor. So I took the hospital bed, tossed it out my door with motor and everything. I don't even know where I got this strength from. Brand new, right out of my door. Opened the front door, lifted it up, tossed it right out the door. My sofa, because I knew she sat there and I knew I would look at it. I got my sofa, threw it out right in front of my door while it was 10 feet away. And then I called a friend of mine that I knew around here and told him, look, can you come help me carry this thing to the dumpster right there? I can't do it. And he came and helped me. I painted my 3 bathrooms, my living room, my kitchen. I started losing it in my house. Started losing it because she wasn't there. I knew she wasn't there anymore and stuff. And I just couldn't. And one day, this guy named Mick, not the old man Mick, she's not a young guy that I know. And I called him and told him what I was going through. He said, Jack, I'm going to take you to this place and you're going to like it. We went to Alternatives and we ate in that restaurant that's right there across the street from it. It was a Japanese place.
The ramen place?
Yes. Right there. We went there, and he even forgot the time it started. I think we got there at 7, and the meeting started at 8. And I'm like, oh, now we got to sit here for an hour. I'm already losing it. I'm going through all this stuff, anxious. So we ate, whatever the case may be. And I went to that meeting, and I started making meetings there. You know, they said make 90 meetings in 90 days. I think I made 90 meetings in a month, and that's the truth. I was making meetings 7 days a week. NA on Thursdays, Alcoholics Anonymous. I was making every meeting they had from Monday to Sunday. And listen, I must have made over 90 meetings in a month because I needed it, right? My wife just passed. I'm living alone. I'm losing my mind. And I actually thought about suicide too, by the way. I sat in my patio. I looked at a tree, said, should I? Shouldn't I? I don't want to live no more. They took the best thing from me. I was saying, God, why? Why, God, why? And I said, wait a minute, no, that'll be a slap in her face, right, to do that. So I started going to meetings every day, because I knew I needed it. I went to alternatives, and you're probably a witness to it, right? I was insane. I was losing it. I was cursing. I was screaming. I was bitching. I was everything, because that's what I needed to do, right? To find out what I needed to do to stay clean, because I went to the meetings because I really didn't care who liked me or who didn't like me. I just needed to know what I needed to do to stop smoking crack. I went through all this stuff. It was a perfect excuse to smoke and end my life. Put it that way.
People would understand. You went through this worst thing possible. If you were to get drunk, people say, well, his wife just died. You smoke crack, they'd be like, oh, his wife just died. But you made it through that at 2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks clean. And it was a perfect excuse. Like I said, my house is paid for. Who's going to throw me out? Who's going to throw me out? Maybe my lights would have got cut off, or the water would have got shut off, but I still would have had a roof over my head because I own it. And I could have ended my life and smoked my brains out in there, party like a rock star, and got all girls and whatever the case may be, right? But I didn't. I didn't pick up a drink or a drug going on 3 years later, in spite of everything that I've been through with that situation with my wife. And here I am to tell people that no matter what goes on in your life, you don't have to pick up a drink or a drug. Because if that wasn't a good excuse for me to get high, then I don't know what is. I could have ended my life until somebody found me rotted in there. I didn't have no family out here. I didn't have nobody. But the people that I started to meet and get to know at the meetings I was going to. You know, and I met a lot of great people along the way. And to this day, I don't make as many as meetings like I first did when I came around. Now I'm at a level in my sobriety where I'm doing a lot of things for God. God is moving in my life like I just can't explain it. I'm not here to try to scare people about God, but I'm spiritually connected. I live the way God would want me to live. Like God has changed me in so many ways. Outlook on life and how to view people and not being judgmental, right? Because that was one of my issues, being judgmental, right? And assassinating people. Because I was good at that. Like, man, look at this guy. Oh, he's with that girl. Like, and stuff like that. And I used to do all that. It's the negative thinking, the negative thoughts. And today, listen, I don't do that. I do a lot of things for God. Like, I love people in spite of where they're at. After my wife, I got into a relationship with this girl that to this day I still love her. And because of my judgmentalness, you know, it just got to where she's not with me anymore. I still miss her. I would pray one day she comes back, or whatever the case may be. And hopefully I can marry her, because now where I'm at in life and the journey that I'm living with God, it has to be according to what God wants. And in my world that I live in now, it has to be biblical. I'm not trying, like today, like I don't lust. I keep the blinders on, right? Because I don't want to get distracted to the left or the right, because it takes me out of my spirituality. It takes me out of... So today I choose whatever's not good. If it's gonna take me out of my spirituality, then I don't surround myself around it. Because I used to get caught up in negative thoughts and negative distraction and negative things. Listen, there's no way around it. The negativity is just like a drug. You have the good, the bad, and the ugly. You're going to have the good people that are going to tell you positive things. You're going to have the bad people that are going to tell you negative things, right? And you're going to have the people that are going to try to take you out of your character. And today, I don't live like that. Like, I remove myself to that. You know, I don't judge people. I respect people. I do a lot of things. Like I said, Alcoholics Anonymous and all these meetings I was going to was starting to become my life. Like, I was planted there after 2 years. And I felt there was something missing, something more. And for me, it was getting more closer to God. And what am I doing? There's other things. Am I talking to people about recovery? Am I trying to talk to people about God, right? Or what am I doing outside the box? What am I doing when I'm out in the outside world? But today I can actually tell you, you cannot say that you'll see Jack hanging out with the wrong person. You cannot say I just seen Jack coming out of Body Talk, Sensations, or any of those places that I don't belong, but you cannot say that I seen Jack anywhere. You know why? Because guess what? Today, I have people that depend on me. I have people that look up to me. Today, like I drive through Fort Pierce. Like today, I can drive through Avenue D. Like I can go to the park and talk to the homeless and try to help them. I was in Flagler Park by myself, speaking to the homeless. A couple there told me they needed toothpaste and toothbrush. And I went and I bought 6 toothbrushes, 6 toothpaste, and gave it to them. You see, these are things that I do outside the box. How could I help somebody?
It's real easy to hear somebody talk a good game at a meeting, but then outside the meeting, they don't do shit.
Exactly, and you hit it right on the nose, you know, because I don't experience that. You know, I can, and it's weird that you said that because you know what? You got these, what do you call this? Oh man, they call talking parakeets. I call them. They talking parakeets. That's what I call them.
They got to raise their hand in every single meeting and say,
right, and say, yeah, I got this. I got these many years. I got this. You see them walking with a big book, like they got it down packed, big book analysis, right, and all this other stuff. So you're gonna talk all this stuff. But what are you doing really on the outside world, man? What are you doing outside the box, right?
I agree.
And it's the truth what you say. You got these guys that talk the talk, but are you walking the walk? Like, come on. And that's what this is about. It teaches you on how to live your life accordingly, orderly direction. You turn your life over to God and your will and your power. You listen. Everything. It says it in the literature. God is either what?
It's either everything or he's nothing.
And there you have it. Don't get scared of God. Find him. Pick him. You know, some people, you know, I just, hey, listen.
Don't say a doorknob. Don't
say a doorknob or human person, right?
Well, people say God can be the group of drunks, the good orderly direction, the people in the meetings, but they only last so long. Because what if the meetings are my higher power, all these people are my higher power, and then one by one they start getting high? Now your higher power is fucked. Right. You have to find something bigger than everything.
Exactly. What about if the meeting shuts down and they can't pay the rent no more? So you made the meeting your higher power and it's not there no more. So now you're back to square one without a higher power.
So your sponsor is not going to answer the phone every time. You have to be connected with something greater than your sponsor.
And that's where I'm at. I am so connected with something that's totally greater than me. I pray. I stay faithful. I try to stay faithful in everything that I do. Everything that comes out of my mouth, I got to be careful on what, because the mouth sometimes can be sharp. They're not that powerful. Like I used to people please all the time. People please and let people dictate the feelings in me and make me angry and stuff like that because of what you thought. No, today I don't do that. Listen, your feelings are your feelings. You got to live with that, right? But me and you are not going to have this negative conversation. Today I could remove myself from that. And, you know, it's just, you know, just like I said, man, people go to meetings sometimes and you could get caught up. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. You know, there's a lot of things that could go out in the meeting.
There's always drama. There's always cliques. There's always things that you can look at and be like, I know that guy's lying. I know that guy's really getting high, but it's not about those people. It's about finding that thing that's bigger than the people.
Exactly. And I totally agree with you. It's a shame because some people leave meetings because of that.
Yes,
a lot of people go out and relapse because of that. A lot of people get hurt. They get their feelings hurt in a meeting because somebody heard that they're gossiping about them. And they're not there with that spirituality. So people say they gossip about this person, or I heard about this person, or whatever the case. So now sometimes people just back up from the meetings and they go and get high. And it shouldn't be like that.
Human beings.
We don't have control.
We all make mistakes.
And we don't have control of what people think. But it's a shame. If you ain't got nothing nice to say about somebody in a meeting, don't say nothing.
That's hard.
That person could be struggling.
You're completely right, and I agree. I just have a problem where my mouth does stupid things because my brain does even stupider things.
Right.
But if you could live the way you just said, that would be awesome.
Yes.
I fall short
every
day.
Like I listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm perfect. I am perfectly imperfect. Trust me. I have to take my inventory every day, and that's even including at work. Wherever it is that I'm at, I have to take my inventory, and I got to talk to my God and ask him to guide me throughout my day. That whatever I do throughout this day, let it be pleasing to him and not me, because my will don't work. My will doesn't work. If you leave it up to me, I can sabotage stuff in a split second.
And smoke crack real quick.
And real quick. And I can make things chaotic. And I still live alone with my little Shih Tzu dog, because I got a little dog now. I look forward to being with my little dog when I come home from work and things like that. But I needed to get a dog because I needed to get out of this thing when my wife passed. But the bottom line is that after going on 3 years now, my wife passed, and I didn't pick up a drink and a drug, and I still make meetings now on Saturdays again. I do things for God. I do a lot of other things. I'm doing a lot of things. Bottom line is I'm doing a lot of things outside the box. And if you have any questions, I'm approachable. You could approach me after the meeting or wherever you see me and ask me, and I will tell you to follow me. No, matter of fact, I won't even tell you to follow me.
Well, you can't say that, then say I won't tell you.
I won't say I won't tell you to follow me. I'll tell you, come with me.
Say that again, because I screwed it up.
Right, so you could come to me after the meeting if you want to know what it is that I'm doing in my life and where I'm at in my sobriety. If you want to know exactly what I'm doing, I'm not going to tell you to follow me. I will ask you to come with me so you can see the things that I'm doing with the God of my understanding and how I'm living and what I'm doing outside the box. Because yes, listen, I have tranquility in my life. I'm at peace with my life. I don't got no drama going on in my life and stuff like that. The only thing that I'm really dealing with right now, I'll be honest with you, is the loneliness. The loneliness that I got going on in my life is just me and my little dog, 2-floor house. But you know what? I have to stay in God's way and let Him provide, because every time I do my will and I search over here, because if I go to a bar searching for a woman, what kind of woman am I going to get?
You're going to get a drinking, drugging woman. You're going to get the drama.
If I go to a strip joint, I'm going to get a woman that's a stripper, and she's going to be, no. So it's just like, I can't. I have to stand back.
When the time is right, God will provide somebody if that's what His will is.
And that's where it's at. I have to let God do His work. I can't continue to keep looking. I have to not look. Because when I ain't look, I know God will provide. So I don't look. I stay humble. I stay faithful to the God of my understanding. I do everything the way He would want it to be. I don't judge people no more. I don't try to assassinate people no more. I look to help people anymore. You can call me whatever time of the day or the night is, and you need me, I'm there. Whatever it is, I can help people.
Yeah, anyone who wants to call me, call Jack, because I'm not answering. If your life depends on a phone call, don't call me, because I never answer. Call Jack.
See, there you have it. And that's probably in his step work. Right? You probably wrote that down.
Damn. The Recovery Idiot. Thank you for watching The Recovery Idiot. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and please visit therecoveryidiot.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Free shirts for boob pics. We got a safe in the trunk with money in a stack, with dice in the front and Brooklyn's in the back. White boys got more rhymes. No sleep till Brooklyn.